Here are the most bizarre things that have ever happened at Disney World. There was a time where a couple tried to smuggle a baby onto Space Mountain. A couple was in line to ride Space Mountain when their duffel bag started to make noise, and the couple refused to open it. So the cast member called security, and when they opened the bag, they saw a 6-month baby inside of it. The baby was okay, but my goodness. People try to spread their loved ones' ashes in the Haunted Mansion. This actually happens way too often, and cast members have to try and stop it as much as they can. It causes the ride to shut down temporarily for an emergency ash cleanup. A husband made a very bizarre announcement at Cinderella's castle. The family of 4 came in for dinner, and about halfway through, the husband politely stands up and he announced that his wife of 15 years had been cheating on him. Wow. In 2007, Tigger punched a teenager in the face. Apparently the boy was messing with Tigger's costume and Tigger wanted him to stop and he didn't, and then punched him in the face. Okay, there are so many other bizarre things that happened. I will make a part 2.
Does Disney cover up some of the deaths that happened at Disneyland? Well, first, before I show you the picture, I'm gonna explain it. Apparently, in 1999, a family was riding It's a Small World when suddenly the ride stopped and the cast members were directing everyone outside of the ride. The staff was quickly rushing everyone out the building, and when this family exited the building, there were ambulances waiting outside of the ride. The mother in this family was able to capture a photo, and this was one of the photos she captured. If you look straight in the middle, you will see what looks like a little boy hanging from the ceiling. Now, some people believe that it was one of the animatronics, but the family doesn't believe that was the case. What do you think? You be the judge.
After the attack on Pearl Harbor, the U.S. military issued these gas masks to children because they were supposedly less scary. Yeah, less scary.
I'm about to ruin your childhood. Ever thought of Disneyland as a sinister place? Probably not. You probably went there on holiday and stuff. This will change your mind. In 2010, an employee who worked at Disneyland in one of the restaurants tragically killed himself. But it gets worse. Carved into the wall next to where he tragically died was a note carved into the wall saying, "I don't want to work for Mickey anymore."
There are 2 abandoned Disney World parks that people are forbidden to go to. In this first video, I'm going to be talking about a park called Discovery Island. This is located in the middle of Disney World's Bay Lake, and it's only accessible by boat. The purpose of Discovery Island was to showcase interesting birds and protect wildlife. It was housing 500 different endangered species. There were free-roaming birds, animal shows, treetop walking, and there were different areas of the park like Alligator Swamp, Flamingo Lagoon, Primate Point. But the island had to close this park on April 4th of 1999, and now you're not even allowed to get within 50 feet of its shoreline. Now there's many reasons why it closed. There were free roaming alligators everywhere, which was so dangerous. Apparently the animals were being treated really badly, and there was a deadly bacteria that was found in the park's waters. An 11-year-old was killed from a brain-eating bacteria. It freaked everybody out and probably ultimately led to the closure.
Here are some things that actually happened at Disney parks that'll scare the hell out of you. First up, we have one that literally sent shivers down my spine. A teen once drowned trying to swim from Tom Sawyer Island back to the main Disneyland park. That's right, 2 brothers snuck out and hid on the island until park closing. They then tried swimming back to the main park, the older with the younger one on his back. But the older one went under and they found the body the next morning. I think they actually closed that attraction down because of that story too. Pretty scary. Next up, we have one that's super creepy. But people consistently try to dump the ashes of their loved ones on Disney's property. This actually is a girl that got caught doing it. This has supposedly become such a big problem over the years that employees have been trained on how to handle a guest when they think remains are being scattered around Disney. Next up, we have a super scary one. But the spirit of a little boy actually lurks in the Haunted Mansion in Orlando. Cast members have said they hear him giggling and mimicking the hurry back lady after the ride shuts down at night. Pretty cool!
Today we're talking about tragic deaths at Disney World. Let's get it started. In 1979, a woman died from riding Space Mountain. At the end of the ride, she was feeling ill and unable to get out of her seat. One of the workers was trying to help her out, but the operator did not see. So he pushed the button and sent her on the ride again. When she got back, she was in a coma and later died from a brain tumor. In 1980, a young boy was visiting Disney's first water park. A rare amoeba entered his body through his nose and attacked his brain. He died and the park was shut down immediately due to pollution. In 1977, a 4-year-old climbed the fence that was surrounding Cinderella's castle. Tragically, he fell into the 5-foot deep water below and drowned. When she sued Disney, the judge denied her for failing to take care of her child. but she later appealed it and was granted $4 million.
This is a movie that Disney tried to hide from you. It's called The Black Cauldron, and it came out in 1985. And it was actually Disney's first ever PG rating. And 12 minutes of the film actually had to be cut from the movie before it even came out because it was just not appropriate for kids. It's about a young boy and a bunch of his misfit friends who embark on a quest to find a dark magic item of ultimate power before a diabolical tyrant can. This villain is called the Horned King, and he's one of the scariest Disney characters ever. Disney got a lot of backlash from this movie when it first came out. It was actually one of the greatest box office duds of 1985. Disney literally had to pull this film from theaters and place it in a deep, deep vault. In 1998, it was finally released on VHS, and I know when I was a kid, I used to watch it all the time, and it definitely did give me nightmares. Now it's available to watch on like Disney Plus, and it's very easy to find. After this movie came out, Disney wanted to restore their brand with friendly movies. So the movies that came out after Black Cauldron were super happy and uplifting. Disney kind of wanted us to forget.
Here's some things that actually happened at Disney parks that'll scare the hell out of you. Part 6. So tons of people have actually died at Disney parks, and there's been a ton of ghost sightings. Here's one of the most famous ones. If you look really, really closely, you can see a figure walking down the sidewalk right here. And it continues to walk through this gate, and then you see it on this other security camera right here, walk right through the gate. Next up, we have the ghost that's seen on the Space Mountain ride a ton. People that even work in Disney have claimed that people come off the ride saying that this ghost was sitting next to them on the ride. It is said that it is the spirit of one of the workers that died while making the ride. If you follow the arrow right here, you can see it getting on right next to this guy and sitting down. And you can clearly see it still sitting there as the ride continues to go forward. This ghost is said to jump off the ride as it's moving, and people have claimed that they saw that happen. Pretty cool!
Here are some very strange rules that Disney cast members have to follow. I found all this information online, so if you're watching and you've ever worked at Disney, please tell me if these are true or false. Cast members are required to pick up trash and put it in the garbage. It says no matter if you're a princess or a janitor, if you pass garbage on the ground, you have to pick it up. Cast members are not allowed to point because it's considered rude in many cultures. So if someone asks for the bathroom, you have to use like a 2-finger sort of point. They are not allowed to post about their job on social media. So what they do essentially has to be a secret, no photos. They can't even talk about it with their friends, which is crazy. Disney cast members speak in code to each other while they're at the park. So for example, code V is when a person has vomited. Signal 25 is when there's a fire broken out somewhere. You can't have tattoos, men can't have long hair, and they have to travel everywhere through underground tunnels.
Creepy facts about Disney that will make you feel weird. Do we all know Lilo? Are you Lilo from Lilo and Stitch? Well, the actress that played the voiceover for Lilo is bloody Samara from The Ring. I'm not even making it up. If you're really naughty when you're at Disneyland, you could literally end up in Disney jail. I mean, it sounds amazing, but... A source who claims to have previously worked at Disneyland says that they have an actual police station on Disney property, and if you're really naughty or you're caught shoplifting or anything like that, you basically get thrown in Disney jail. Obviously, it's just like a holding place until you know you get taken off of site. Wait times at Disneyland are normally way overestimated, so when you get on the ride and you realise it's not as long as what the wait time says, you're pleasantly surprised. This basically is a trick to keep you happier. Here's a final one that I think will ruin Finding Nemo for you. Clownfish actually change gender to mate, and the fact that Finding Nemo and Marlin are the only clownfish in their whole area of that part of the ocean means that they'll eventually need to mate. Ew. Let me know what I should cover in my next...
Here are some terrifying things about Disney that you didn't know about. Number 1, Disney's secret underground tunnels. You heard me right. Right beneath the Disney parks is a vast network of tunnels. These tunnels are used by the workers to get around the park easier and faster. But some kids have accidentally found these tunnels and actually gotten lost down there. Number 2, spreading ashes around the park. It is actually a pretty common occurrence that Disney park visitors will spread the ashes of their loved ones around the Disney parks. But the creepiest part is the most common place people spread the ashes is in the Haunted Mansion ride, which has led the ride to actually become very haunted. So haunted actually that thousands of people every year claim to see this same ghost boy at the end of the ride crying for his mom.
Here is another abandoned Disney park that you're not allowed to go near. This was called River County Water Park, and it first opened back in 1976. The park was filled with excited families and squealing children speeding down water slides. It was complete with rocks and man-made boulders you can jump off of, and in the first year it opened, it had around 4,700 guests per day. In 1982, a 14-year-old boy from North Dakota drowned in the resort after going down Whoopin' Holler water slide. There were no signs saying how deep the water was, which is so dangerous, and lifeguards that worked there came forward and said that dozens of people had to be rescued from that slide each day. And then in 1989, a 13-year-old boy ended up drowning in the park. So since then, the resort has been left to rot, filled with overgrown moss, abandoned rusty water slides covered in vines. No one has stepped foot inside ever since.
Things that actually happened at Disney parks that'll scare the hell out of you. Part 4. This one is super creepy. But the spirit of a man haunts Disneyland's Space Mountain, and sometimes people see him fall off the ride. Maria Westgate, a former cast member that worked at Disney, said, and I quote, "Mr. Wedway died while helping build the ride and never got to see it finished. Sometimes he'll ride next to you. When I worked at Disney, we'd have guests screaming that there was a guy next to them on the ride who was there but fell out." Now that is super creepy. This one's super scary and sad. In 1991, a girl tried to scare her cousin on Disney World's Haunted Mansion, but fell out and got dragged under a car. That's right, Kelly Ferguson was 15 years old when she boldly tried to jump from one car to another, but failed to nail her landing. Instead, she got caught under one of the doom buggies and was in critical condition, but did survive. Pretty cool! Here are some things that actually happened at Disney parks that'll scare the hell out of you. Part 2. This one's very sad. But this is Lane Graves. He was a 2-year-old boy who was pulled into the water by an alligator at a lagoon near Disney's upscale Grand Floridian Resort on June 14, 2016. He was playing in the water on a beach area when he was attacked. No swimming signs were posted nearby, but none of them warned about the water having alligators in it. He was dragged into water, and his father actually tried to wrestle him away from the alligator but couldn't, and the little boy's body was found intact in the water the following day. RIP. Next up is crazy. A Disneyland visitor was actually killed by simply waiting in line to board a ride in 1998. A piece of metal flung off the classic Columbia ride and hit a man and his wife in the face. The man, Luan Fee Dawson, died from his injuries while his wife's face was severely damaged. Even worse, their son was standing next to them when all this happened. Pretty crazy.
Facts you didn't know about Disney parks. When the Pirates of the Caribbean ride first opened, they used real skeletons instead of fake ones. A teenager who once entered the park without paying was hit by the monorail and was dragged nearly 40 feet down the track. An employee later said he had to hose him off. A woman named Dolly Young died on the Matterhorn ride after unbuckling her seatbelt. She hit her head on a crossbeam, landed on the tracks, and was hit by a following bobsled. Hundreds of stray cats roam the park at night. They are mostly friendly and keep the mice away, so the employees actually feed them. They've been there since the 1950s. Disney parks are among the most popular places to scatter people's ashes. This happens so often that employees have a code name for when they see someone doing it.
Here are some things that actually happened at Disney parks that'll scare the hell out of you. Part 5. First up, we have a snake attack that killed a grandma. That's right, back in 2016 at Disney World's Animal Kingdom Park, an unfortunate death occurred when a wild snake that was not part of any of the zoo-like attractions fell from a tree and bit a young boy. But the boy was just fine. The snake was non-venomous. Unfortunately, the boy's grandmother was watching the whole ordeal and went into cardiac arrest from the surprise. That's insane. Next up, the Haunted Mansion ride gets filled with the ashes of dead people. That's right, over the years, Disney cast members and custodians have had to deal with multiple guests smuggling the ashes of their loved ones and scattering them somewhere around or inside the Haunted Mansion attraction. This has been happening at both the Orlando and California attractions. If you do get caught doing this, the ride gets stopped until custodians vacuum up your loved one's remains, just so all of it can be thrown into the trash. So don't do this. Pretty cool!